Hey guys, my name is Tim Schmoyer, and I am hanging out with Rory Haynes and Nathan Jordan from NewMediaRockstars. They work with brands and they work with creators, helping merge the two together, and they have a lot of really good advice for you guys as creators who want to start working with brands and start, landing those deals. So what advice do you guys have for creators who are looking to get into that revenue stream for their videos?
There's two things that I think are really key. One is it's obviously really important to try and find, you have to be mindful of your audience. And so really try and sort of figure out what is the most organic way to fit this into what I do. And I think it's really important to sort of focus that. And it does take a lot of energy, obviously, and maybe not every brand is the right fit, and maybe sometimes you're going to have to turn down certain deals because there's no way to make it organic. But I think what you don't want to do is sort of see that potential negative reaction for working with brands. But I don't want to scare anybody off, because I think that when you do tie it in perfectly, it can really, really work. The other thing I would say is one thing to also be mindful of. I've seen a certain mentality with creators when they do get brand deals. As soon as sort of contract is signed, they're really thinking about trying to do as little as possible with the brand, and I think that's a mistake, because one thing, obviously I get it, the mentality is, I don't want to seem sponsory, I'm going to have as little messaging as possible, but if you can really figure out the right way to do it, the better you do for the brand, the more likely they're going to come back again and say, hey, thanks for that video, we want to do another one, we're going to increase the budget this time, you know what I mean? So it's like that idea of, I'm going to do as little as possible for this brand is actually sort of counterintuitive for you and your channel and your potential future earnings.
And think about it this way too, if you have one good branded piece of content on your channel, that's an easy way to show other brands that you can do that. So it's potential for more brands to work with, brands that the creators love anyways, and probably talk about whether they're getting paid for it or not. You might as well make money off that as well. And I would say, the big thing is to remember is that these brands are finally coming to YouTube. So we should all be really happy about that. They're bringing their money to YouTube. And they haven't worked with creators before. So just the basic stuff, like getting your video in on time, hitting all the talking points that are in the contract. Feel free to negotiate whatever you want before you sign that contract. If you're like, I don't feel comfortable saying that because that's unorganic, just brands will talk to you about that kind of stuff and make exceptions when you make a good case for it. Do that all before you sign the contract, because once you sign the contract, you should fulfill every single point of that contract, just to, in good faith.
One of the questions a lot of creators ask is, well, how do I go about determining how much my video should be worth and my audience is worth? Should I be charging a $2 CPM or $100 CPM, or is it even based on CPMs?
There isn't a secret formula. Obviously, the truth is something's worth what people are willing to pay for it. That's always the truth. I think it does depend on how integrated a brand is into the video, what the deal is, what you're comfortable with. I will say that, statistically, whoever names the first number in a negotiation is more likely to get a number that is closer to what they want than vice versa. So if brands are approaching you and saying, how much do you want? I know that you're like, I don't want to say a number because what if I go way low? If you don't, and they say their number and it's half of what you're expecting, you're negotiating up from there. So I think a sort of good negotiation tactic is, if you're given the opportunity to pick the number, just say the number that you want, and then that's where the negotiation starts. So you're actually getting closer to where you want.
I'd say that the creators know, how much work goes into each video, and brands are going to ask different sorts of things. So I would say, if it doesn't feel right, if it feels like you're not making that much for what you're being asked to do, then it's probably not right. It's almost a gut thing, like if it's a custom video, if it's a super custom video where they want you to make a specific script and they're making notes and getting revisions on it, I would charge more, for really high-end custom content, $100 CPM isn't out of the question. But if they're asking you to put a title card on your video and they're offering you a $20 CPM, hey, you're going to make $22 CPM on that video instead of $2 CPM. So it's just what you feel comfortable with, I think, is a good starting point.
So tell me what you guys think about the formula I've kind of been using. I want your feedback, all right? So kind of what I've been thinking is, so you look at the videos that you posted in the previous month, you tally up the total number of views that each of those videos total got, and then you divide it by that number of videos, so you get the average views that you got per video you uploaded in the previous month. And then you base that off of like a CPM of like if you have a really targeted, specific niche, you know, and like audience, and you know exactly who those people are, you can maybe charge a higher CPM, maybe get closer to like $40 to $60 CPM. But if it's like a broad audience with like teens and moms, and like a lot of you can maybe closer to around the $25, $30 CPM, and just kind of based on that, figure out like this is the average number of views I got per video. If it's a single video, if it's like an ongoing sponsorship for a month, you still do the math. Does that sound like relatively close to how you might determine what the value is?
I don't think that's a bad formula at all. I think that's pretty good. I've seen some deals that are really intrusive, but I've also seen other deals where we've actually been able to work with huge creators on a way, way lower budget because they love the brand, and the integration is pretty flexible and something that they're okay, you know what I mean? So I think that's it. Unfortunately, I don't think there is the simple answer. That being said, I think your formula is pretty close to a realistic one.
Brands generally give you about a month to get all your views, so they'll pay you based on what you can get in a month. So I would look at like actually day 30 and just kind of keep a running total of that to get like kind of a more accurate idea of where you fall. And then it depends, the CPM depends on kind of the integration. As far as audience, I mean, I think that's important, but I think the brand wouldn't reach out to you anyways unless you already had that audience. So it's less, I'd say it's a little less of a consideration, but it's still a good kind of guideline to go by and think about.
One thing that these guys are always asking is, well, when should I get started with brand deals? When I have 100 subscribers? Do I have to wait till I have 1,000 subscribers? At what level, or is it view count, at what level can you start thinking about doing brand deals?
I wouldn't necessarily say there's a level. I think there's a level before it's a type of brand deal. I mean, you're probably not going to really get a flat fee brand deal until you're really sort of 15, 20,000 views a video and up. Yeah. Is really when you're probably going to be at a level where you can start talking to brands on a flat fee basis. That being said, you know, as many creators know, you know, if you're doing merchandise deals and so on and so forth, you can really start that as soon as you create an account. You can go out there and sign up for sort of CPA deals where they're going to pay you per transaction. So that's something you can start straight away if you want. I mean, how profitable it's going to be will really depend on how fast you grow. I don't want to discourage anybody from making a profit, making money, but I do think it's something in the early stages that you want to consider is, if I'm 100 subscribers in and I'm already sort of selling products, am I hurting my own audience value and growth value? I
would advise, I think, to when you get started, to just focus on collaboration mostly in your content. I say when you get to like 10,000 subs, I'd start looking at like things like Netflix used to do a code or Spreadshirt or something like that, just to get your feet wet. But a thing to remember is, you know, as you grow your audience too, your value is going to go up, right? So yes, around 20,000, you could be considered, 20,000 views a video, you could be considered for brand deals probably. When you start getting into 50,000, if you're like a gamer, that's a good number to be at. But when you start getting up to 100, 500,000 views a video, then you become really valuable because that becomes rarer and rarer on YouTube as there's more and more people.
And then you're probably not asking us for advice about brand deals.
If you can do 1 million views a video, that's kind of the magic number where your value really shoots up. Because it's hard to guarantee 1 million views on a video on.
That's actually something to add to. If you have consistency, that's something that a consistency of view counts, that's actually really, really valuable because brands can look at you and be like, oh, I know exactly what I'm getting. And you can be sold in that sense.
One thing that I've found that could work for like a brand of any or a channel of any size is like if you see a product that you like that could fit really well with your audience, like sometimes they'll just be willing to give you like free product, you know, like, you know, hey, you really like our granola bars? Yeah, we'll toss you a bag of granola bars. You know, you like our peanut butter? That's like one we did on my family's vlogging channel. They sent us like a case of peanut butter, you know, because we like peanut butter.
Companies are always looking, at least the ones that work with the influencers and to connect them with the brands are always looking for really professional. Like if you're professional and great and nice, trust me, it goes a long way. And you know, if I'm putting together a brand deal and there's 2 guys at the same size and I know I can call this guy and get everything on time and work with him and he's a great guy, I'm going to go to that guy every time.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your help and your input and advice for these awesome creators. You guys, there's a link to their website in the description below, NewMediaRockstars.com. You can go read. I read you guys' site every week, every Sunday actually, in case you wanted to know when I'm looking at it. Every Sunday afternoon, evening, I'm reading through all the stuff I missed that week. But yeah, definitely go check them out. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below about what advice and tips you guys have as creators who have worked with brands. What advice would you give to other creators who are starting to look into working with brands and starting to build that income from that type of revenue model? So definitely leave your advice, and if you are looking to get involved, read the comments down below. Always a lot of really good, helpful stuff that people here leave. And if this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every Wednesday we do videos just like this to give you guys some YouTube tips, advice, things like that. Tomorrow, on Thursdays, we'll do some YouTube Q&A where I take a question from one of you guys, do my best to answer it. And then on Thursday, we talk about some of the updates and the things happening in the online video world and what you guys as creators need to know about all that. And I do all this because I really believe that a lot of you guys have messages that the world needs to hear, and I will do everything I can to help you guys grow your audiences and your channels to spread your message. So thanks for hanging out, and we will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.